Okay, so that's available. Okay, and so there's nobody else in it really right now, so we can go ahead and make any changes that we need.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and start. Just curious, and did anything from Nagendra scheduled for this evening?
He pinged me. I said after this call I can talk to him.
Oh.
Just now he pinged me just now, and so once we have done with this meeting, and I have to get connected with him. And meanwhile, what all I prepared, I just gave him. So probably he will add little tune to the document. That's what he will do.
Okay. I'm just thinking. Do you think we should limit this to 1 hour?
Yes.
Okay. Let's just make sure make sure that we do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm recording. Okay, all right, so we're recording a live session of updating the DSR for testing. So far, I have a couple things open. I have the BPML, process of variations. I have a new file created for today's the 31st of August, testing slides for the daily status report, and I have it ready here to be updated from the BPML. Okay, so first thing, there are 6 tabs or workbooks down here that are hidden, and they all query the process tab and the variations tab. Right now, the process tab and variations tab are looking at sprints 1 through 4. Okay. All right, so first tab, or first 2 tabs. I'm going to unhide. So there are 6 tabs as mentioned. They are the TC status prior sprints, TC status current sprints, or current sprint, and these 2 reports, workbooks, comprise the data for the prior sprints, first slide number 1, and slide number 3 for current sprint. So let me show the relationship, really quickly, between these 2. I'm going to unhide both of them. Prior sprint, and unhide current sprint. Okay, so off the bat, you can see that this table looks a lot like the table on this slide, and also the burn down looks a lot like this burn down here on this tab. On the current sprint, TC status current sprint, this table here and the burn down here look very similar to the table and the burn down on slide number 3, and they are more than similar, they're the same. Okay, so that's how those are populated. These table contents get moved over to the PowerPoint. Okay. The others part of the slide, there are 2 tables here for prior sprints by work stream and by assignee. And on slide number 4, it's for current sprint, and you have a open process and variations that need full test cases for work stream and for assignee. So let's just take a quick look at the BPML for those. Just to avoid having too many tabs open, I'll hide what I currently show, and I will go and then hide those 4 other reports. So you'll find them as WS assignees or work stream assignees, or just assignees prior sprints. So I'm going to unhide these here. Assignees. So what you'll find here is that table that is shown here for open prior sprints by work stream. This table is this table, and for this second slide next to it by assignee, it's this tab, assignees prior sprints. This is that table, and the same for the other one, which I won't go through now. Okay, so I'm going to hide them again. So what we have to do is update those tables and the chart. Okay, so let's go through that. So I'm going to unhide TC status prior sprints and unhide TC current sprint. Okay. All right, so since these are active formulas, they are querying the processes tab and the variations tab, and these are specific to sprints 1, 2, and 3. So you see here in this formula, it says lookup sprint 1, lookup sprint 2, lookup sprint 3. And same thing with the variations tab. Now, just as a caution for when we enter a new sprint, this formula will have to be updated to pull in sprint 4 as well as a prior sprint. And for the current sprint, this formula, which currently shows sprint 4 for processes tab and sprint 4 for variations tab, will have to be updated to sprint 5. Okay? And since these are formulas, you can just drag them down and apply the formula across all these different columns. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at this data real quickly. So for prior sprints, these are active formulas, so we see that the numbers are different already from what the yesterday's report looked like. There's also another observation here. If you look at this report from today, well, from yesterday, it shows 1,229 grand total. Well, that number has dropped. So somebody's been doing some work that is affecting these numbers here. So since we know that the numbers are already different based upon the grand totals, we're going to have to do some additional checking to make sure that everything does look appropriate with these new numbers. Okay, so that's the first observation. The other observation is since this plan amount has decreased, right? So you see here, it's 821 for yesterday's report. It's now at 790, which means that the burn down rate needs to change. It shouldn't change, but it needs to, I think. Right now, the burn down is set at 35. We actually probably could just leave it because we still get down to 0. It's just burning down 35, 35, 35, and then 20, and then we get rid of 20. So maybe we'll just leave it. I think at least we'll have a more consistent trend, but the starting point is a different number than where we were yesterday. Okay. All right. So on the current one, this one actually looks like no one's touched it. Let's just see what the diff is. So yesterday we had 444 and 15. From not started. But the total number still equals 459. All right, so then I think this one probably is more straightforward than the other one. Okay, so just doing a quick check. That's what it looks like. Oh, one more thing to update for the burn down, because we're reporting on work that was done on Tuesday. So today is day 7. Day day 7. Yeah, so this is Monday. So we need to drag this down. Okay. Huh, okay. It actually needs to come down one more. For some reason, this wasn't calculated for Monday. Okay. We probably need to make this look.
Why we have updated all 458 only as actual?
Because the difference between the grand total and the complete is 458.
I understand that is for August 31st. What about earlier? I see everywhere the same 458.
Yeah, so what this means is that the total expected number of process and variations that need a test case is 459 for sprint 4. So we're starting here. But looks like somebody created a test case before sprint 4 started. So it's already incomplete. So the actual that remains to be written is now 458. There are no other processor variations with full test cases that have gone through review and updated here. So the actual number that needs to be remains to be written is still 458. Difference between grand total and completed. I think we need to change the position of these numbers because this is actually kind of confusing looking at it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this one's pretty straightforward. Really, there's no change. It's really the report.
As this is the current sprint, we haven't started anything. That is the reason it's straightforward.
Yes, it's still early. Although now, because it's day 7, there is an expectation that they should be producing for sprint 4. But I think the reason why they haven't completed anything for sprint 4 is because they're still the BTL and SMEs are still focused on trying to get these numbers down for prior sprints. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, temporarily I'm going to hide current sprint. I'm going to open the WS assignees and the assignees tabs for prior sprints so we can work on those. Okay, so one of the checks that we need to do is that the number between not started and in progress, which is 263, once we do the updates on this tab, should also be 263 here, right? So the reason why this is not 263 automatically is because these here, they're lookups on these pivot tables. So these pivot tables need to be refreshed, okay? So that's the first thing that needs to be done. So they saw a change from 80 to 79. You refresh this one. It went from 190 to 184. So if I just do a quick sum between these two numbers, 263, that's good, right? So that means that these lookups here are pulling the same data, same counts as the lookups here. Okay,
Correct.
So that's good.
That's good.
Now, you see that this value here changed from some number to this. I can't find anything. So there, for some of these, there is a active lookup to the pivot data, right? In some cases, it's a it's a specific number like this, right? 0. This one for Allen, for R to R, is going to have to be a 0, right? And there's a reason why. It's because Allen now does not appear on any of these pivot data.
Okay.
The pivot data to the left side of this table is to look up for processes and variations that are not complete for test cases, right? So test cases are not complete. These are the lookups here, okay? So we need to find the processes and variations remaining. I do a check, a manual check for all these to make sure that the numbers are valid. I already know because it's 268, 263. That's the expected number, so these should all be fine. But just to do a quick look, so Heather Johnson, EHS, don't see it, so that's 0 is good. EWM, Jason, 5 plus 12 is 17, that's good. GTS, 4 plus 1, 5, that's good. Leasing, 8 plus 43, that's good. Don't see any loans. MDG, don't see MDG, so that checks. For O to C, I don't expect to see any change. 1, 9, 46, and Teresa has 18. 5 plus 13 is 18, so those all match the right people. Brock doesn't show up. Christy has 5. Eric has 0. Jason has 1 for P to P, so those fine. Those check out. And Keith has 1. QM, 2 plus 6, 8, that's matches. Alan, 0 for R to R. Jale, 3 plus 2, 5. Pablo, 3. Heidi for C4. This 31 plus 41, 72. Keith for production planning, 1. Mary Beth, 3 plus 10, 13. Stephanie for lead, 7. Everything matches. Okay? And so on here, this I'm sure that we can write a formula for it, but to me, I can just type as easily, type it just fast. So these are the overall numbers remaining to be done. Okay? So this over here is just a quick lookup for the BTLs to say, okay, for work stream, EHS, there's 3. For P2P, there's a total of 11. If they want to see how that's broken out, those 11, they can look to the right. Right? So that's why this second column exists. So I'm just going to manually quickly. 551, 00. This one probably hasn't changed. 74, same. 11, 7. So this is now 7. Maryland is to 8.
So
R is now 8.
This AH column we are updating manually.
Yes. Does it have to be that way? That's just, for me, the level of effort to write a formula for it is more time than what I just did. So, all right. So that's it updated. That's updated. The last thing so that's all for this side. Okay. Now, if you go over to the right, there's another set of pivots. Now we have to calculate the number that they have completed since the sprint started. So this is where potentially there's a little bit more work, right? Because you see that we have to filter by dates relevant to the sprint, or it could be blank because it's in progress. These pivots here, they look at what is complete, and they look at what is ready for review with the BTLs or with CTS. Okay, so that's why blank is an allowable value. Because if it's in review status, we're not going to have a completed date, right? But if it's completed, there should have been a date of completion assigned to that process or that process variation, okay? And just remember that this is also looking at sprints 1 through 3. When this includes sprint 4, these lookups, these filters will have to be updated for the new sprint. Okay, so we're going to have to refresh these. But before we refresh them, we're going to have to go and click on another date. I tried to figure out how to apply a filter, but the filter wouldn't stick, so I'm just clicking another day for this one. So now it's looking up blanks and all the other days within this sprint cycle, August 23rd through today, the 31st. Over here, the dates are, oops. Oh, over here you have to do it this way. Okay. I don't know why they're different. I'm not a pivot expert, but that's how it works. Okay, so now I'm refreshed. Refresh this one. And here, refresh this one. There should be some lookups already in place. You can see here. But always want to check. Right? So if I go to the bottom, just to see, do the numbers match? 208, 212 plus 290, 502. Okay, so there's 6 more somewhere. All right, so Heather, 11, okay, that's good. Jason, EWM, he is 32. EWM, 44, okay. Chris, 7 for GTS. Leasing, 6. Leasing, 24. But you can see you already found it, so there's no issue there. Alan, 12 plus, it's not 29, so that's fine. Jordan's 125, already know that. So Michael Cox for O to C. So O to C, just doing a quick look, I don't see them, I only see Teresa. So since I'm looking at O to C, Teresa 26 plus 24, that's 40. Teresa's good. Brock is 1 plus 7. Christy, 16 plus 18. Eric is 27. Jason is 1. And Keith is probably 6. He doesn't show up over here. Marilyn, QM, 27 plus 32, 49. Alan, 16. And 16 and 8, 24. Okay, so that's that. Alan didn't have anything that he completed over on this side, so we have to go in and do an add to pick it up. Pablo, 0. Heidi, it's 1. Keith is 0 for PP. That's only Mary Beth, and Mary Beth is 11 plus 14, and that is 25. 25, and Stephanie for VIL is 0. So 502. The expected number is 502. All right, so this is complete. Well, one more thing. So these sprint days elapsed. So there's a conditional formatting going on here. I still have to go and update each of these because there's not a way I can just drag conditional formatting and it's smart enough to figure it out. But I'll go and try to manually make those adjustments. All right, so just very quickly, this sprint days elapsed. So this is day 7, right? So we're technically in day 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So when we run this report, this needs to show 7. And then there's a conditional formula that multiplies this daily needed by this number, and then it compares that result against this number here and then assigns it a color. So 5.5 times 7 is 3.5. 3.5 is less than 11. Therefore, this should show green. down here, this is pretty, well, let's go with this one. So this one, 3.0 times 7 is 21. 21 is greater than 1, therefore this shows red. Okay? So what we want to make sure is that the right color is assigned. Now, just to do a quick check here to show the conditional formatting formula. So if I go to conditional formatting, manage rules, you see here that for this one, so where I clicked, it's supposed to be doing a lookup, doing a comparison between 12, row 12, right? And it should be applying it to to row 12. But right here you see that when the conditional formatting was copied, it applied it to a range. It shouldn't be that way. So that's part of what does need to make sure that it's consistent. Either you can manage it manually to make sure that logically the right color is being applied, or eventually these will be corrected into specific rows. So from the calculation, that's what was happening for the conditional formula. You multiply the number of days elapsed times the number done, and then you get a result, and it compares that result against your data range, which really should just be A012. I'll leave it as is, because if you change it, I don't want to click undo. The BPML is kind of finicky. If you remove the range, it's going to remove the conditional formatting. But for now, these are, well, this one's not right. And if we say 13, so you wiped out the formatting. That's part of just going through every single cell to make sure that that the conditional formatting is appropriate. But I can tell you that if we just copy these here, these should be green. If we copy these here, these should be red. If we copy...
Anyway, you're doing... Anyway, you're updating manually that the color coding, right? Then what? So far, what you shown me?
I'm manually it. I'm updating it manually, so I don't have to waste the time on the recording to go through every single one. But eventually, these do need to be specific to this row and specific to this cell. That's just some work that needs to be done. But this is just a way to be able to easily present a result. In the future, these will all be having the right conditional formatting that pertains to this row. I just wanted to show you what's currently there, and eventually in the future that will be not necessary. Just be aware that when you do Format Painter, it applies your format to a range of data.
Yeah, got it.
And that's part of the difficulty. But this is right. Just doing a spot check of the number of the results against the multiplication of these two values. These are showing up as the right color. Okay. All right. So we're done.
No, from the last there is a 1, right? So from the last there is a 1. You need to change the color, right?
Which one? This one?
Above 1.
Number 1. This one?
Yeah.
3 times 7 is 21. So this is red, right? Unless there's another number 1 you're looking at.
Okay, got it.
Okay. All right. So we can always come back and check it. All right. So next one. So this one here, it should have the same base numbers as the one we just worked. Okay. And so actually you see it already. So over here on this assignees, it's doing a lookup. It's pulling these numbers from that WS assignees tab. So when you update the WS assignees, it should more or less update these values as well. So you already see it already updated, right? 502, 502. So the only thing that needs to be updated are these processes remaining for these individuals at this level. Okay. All right. So how does this work? So the again, lookups, right? We need to refresh these pivots. Okay. So now there's the sum down here of all these values here. So click on Chris. So it's doing lookups on these 2 pivot data tables. These are showing REF because Alan doesn't have anything. So to make this formula come to the number 0, Brock is 0, Chris is 12 plus 44, so that's right. Christy is 0, Eric is 0, Heather now does not show up, 0. Heidi is 72, Jale is 5, Jason is 8, Jordan is 0, Keith is 2. There. Oops. Mark is 0, Marilyn is 8, 6 plus 2. Mary Beth is 1, 13, Michael 1, Michelle 9, NA is 28. The NA is TM, by the way, which is not part of the deliverables. Pablo is 3, Sean is 46, Stephanie 7, Teresa 18. So the total is 286. What you have to account for is the diff, right? So the number here, the grand total, is the difference between the grand total and the NAs. You can actually, no, you can't do that. So let's go ahead and bring these numbers in. You can do a lookup down here. I don't know why I haven't done it, but I think probably just because I just like typing. All right, so Alan 0, Brock 0, Chris is 56, Christy is 0, Eric is 0, Heather is 0, Heidi is 72, Jale is 5, Jason is 18, that's a big drop, Jordan is 0, Keith is 2, Marilyn is 8, Mary Beth is 13, Michael 1, Michelle 9, Pablo 3, Sean 46, Stephanie 7, Teresa 18, 258. If you just do a calculation,
286.
That number minus NA, 258. Uh-oh. So now we're missing 5. Oh, there's the 5.
Where is the 5?
So there's the sum of these two numbers is 291.
Mm-hmm.
Grand total is 286. So there's
somewhere number didn't came here.
a new name. Chris, Heidi, Jale, Charlie, Jason, Keith, Marilyn, Mary Beth, Teresa, Heidi, Marilyn, Mary Beth, Michael, Michelle, Pablo, Sean, Teresa. Okay, so where are the 5? Oh, here it is, Christy. So she actually had 5. So this is not right.
You don't have Christy. Christy, you have 0. Okay, Christy बोले.
Why did they do that? All right, 263. There it is. Okay. The last thing, sprint days, because we're now on day 7, or ending day 7, update that. So you updates to conditional formatting. Just doing a check here. Looks fine. Okay, so that's it. So over here, we need to go in and copy the values. Oh, there we go. I'll change the font size later. Notice there's a gap here, which is why I didn't just copy the whole thing. Okay, and then just to make it the font it used to be, which is okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 7.
Mm-hmm.
What I prefer to do is I'd like to match things up.
And you are not removing the below one?
Now it's the same width. I can delete this one. Oh, looks like Sudarshan got the other one. Okay. And now that's it on that one. And over here, I need to copy the WS assignees. This is font 11. The complication to this, if there's any new names that get added, we unfortunately do not have any new names. But the new names will show up if you do the and grand total. Looks like the formatting, it matches. Okay. And lastly, prior sprints. Let's copy this. Let's copy everything, see what happens. This is size 12. Okay. Numbers match, 263, 263, 502, 502, conditional formatting. What needs to be red is red, what needs to be green is green. Okay. Save. All right, so now, lastly, current status. I'm going to hide these since they're done. And I'm going to show those 3 for current sprint. Current PS status current sprint. Unhide WS current sprint. Unhide assignees current sprint. This one should be even more straightforward because we've seen that nobody has actually really moved much. Okay, so here we need to make sure that on the other ones they total to 457. Okay, so looks like it's already updated. Probably because I refreshed this earlier in the day. All right, so the same conditions. This is looking at sprints. It's looking at all work streams except for TM. In progress, not started blank, and sprint 4. Right. So remember, when we go to sprint 5 to create for the current one, you have to unclick it, change it to sprint 5. All right. So and then refresh this one again. No change. All right. So EWM 5 and that 5 and 11, 16. So that checks out. We already know this is the expected number, so this is really just to do a quick sanity check of the logic to pull in these numbers, just because that's what I prefer to do for myself. Okay, MDG, Jordan over here, Chris Farley for O to C. 5-2 for Sean. Teresa is 6-43, so 5-2-43. 5-2-43. Brock is 7, 3 plus 4. Christy is 11 plus 5. Eric is 8 plus 1. Keith is 0. Marilyn for QM is 4. And over here, R 32 for Alan. I'm sorry, I'm looking the wrong side. Jale is 32. 11, 32. Mark, 7 plus 15. Pablo is 8. 6 plus 2. John Boyle, GRC, 9. C4 is 17 plus 18. Hold on. C4, 17 plus 18. Yeah, 35. Stephanie is 19 for VIL, 18 and 8 for VIP. So those do total to the expected number. And let's make sure that these numbers match. Okay, they don't. So then we see what we need updates. 50, 2, 4, 62, 9. Here. Okay, 457. All right, and then over here, so we have to go and do lookups for what they actually completed. We know that nothing's been completed, so I don't expect to see any change, but just be aware that you have to update these to date completed. Actually,
so we no need to go to the processes and variations tab and see for all the completions, and next to that they have updating the date or not. No need to do all the task.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to go to the process and variations to do these reports because we're doing lookups directly on those tabs. Oh, I see why I don't have a date restriction. I remember now, because it's only looking for what is sprint 4. So this is what is in a completed or ready for review state. That's in sprint 4. Heidi has 1 and Eric has 1. As I mentioned, it's finding that Heidi completed a sprint 4 test case for her process on August 12th. That is outside of our sprint. That's before our sprint started. So that should answer that. So that answers the question, well, why does it show 458? It's because this C41 that Heidi did was done before we started the sprint. So the plan is for a total of 459, but the actual is 1 less because we already had 1 prepared before we started the sprint. Okay, so that's the answer for that. So we just need to record here, done since, to make the numbers match. Even though this is done in early August, we still have to report it here so that the numbers match, right? 457 plus 2 is that 459. And so we got to update this now to number 2, because now we're in day 2 of when they start recording for the current sprint process and variations. So this starts on day 6. All right, so now we're in day 7. So therefore, the number of sprint days elapsed is number 2. Okay. All right. And based upon that, this now turns red, because 0.6 times 2 is 1.2. 1.2 is greater than 1, therefore this is now red. So everybody shows red now. That's it. Then over here, similar to the other one, we just have to go and refresh these tables or pivots. Here the only condition is the current sprint 4. And let's just check these down here. So Alan is, well, we'll just look here. All right, so there's 2 that are missing. Actually, hold on. Nope, that's right, because we should be at 457, right? So this is that's 457. So now we got to figure out where the delta is. So Alan is 12, Brock is 7, Chris Farley is 23, Roden is 20, Christy is 16, Eric is 9, 3, 5, 2, 16, 9, Pablo is 8, Sean is 10, Stephanie is 19. Go. Now it matches. And same treatment. Oops. Day 7, so this should be number 2. And now everything is red. These are not lookups. You just have these over here. So I'm going to go refresh, and this is only looking at the current sprint, right? Sprint 4, and 1 and 1. 1 for processes, 1 for variations. Eric, we have 1 for Eric, we have 1 for Heidi, and there is none for Keith, so that's 0. I'll actually just make a blank Keith. Okay. So the grand total, 1 plus 1 is 2. 2. Save it. Okay, so now let's go and update the PowerPoint. All right, so we got to update this table. So let's just update these here. There's no space like we saw in the other one, so we can just copy. Paste. And I'll change the font back to 14 in a little bit. Copy all this. And now we'll restore it to 14. Now it looks way before. Copy paste. And now this needs to be changed up because this looks really funny. So I'm going to flip these labels. Instead of being below, I'll make this above. And for the yellow, I'm going to change it to be below, so it'll be easier to see. Oops. Below. Yeah. That's a little inverted. The higher number should be above, but it's easier to see that, there's no progress, right? Everything is flat. That's why I think that makes more sense. All right, so let's go back to let's copy this graph. Oh, wait, hold on. Where's that? Oops. I'm going to temporarily move this out of the way. Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this guy. Yeah, that's better. It's weird, but it's better than being hidden. Okay, so let's go with it. Oh, I just typically paste it. The burn down is different because we now have one less than yesterday. Yesterday was at 460, today's at 459, so the numbers are all a little bit different today. Okay. All right, so this slide is done. And now over here, WS assignees. And this should be 12. Oh, yes, I did 11. Okay. And this one is 12. So let's go over here, current sprint, copy. Okay, looks like for some reason, I think probably because this was previously formatted green, we got to change this fill to this pinkish color, I guess, right? And this one here also need to change there. Okay, so now it's that red on red. Look, that's right. And the numbers down here, 457, 457, the 2, and the 2. So, pending any actual validation of the data, that's it. Those are the slides. I'm going to go and save off this copy. I'm going to hide these for the from the BTLs. Back to the variations, process variations. Okay. Save. Just so that when you turn this over to Siddharshan, I suppose he can do another spot check on this. I'm going to save a copy of this sheet, because this is a snapshot in time, right? That's the and I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to go ahead and upload this version of the BPML desktop. All right, so now here's your deck with this report. Now, I would probably stop and just, validate that all the numbers do check out. And so just bear in mind that for after this recording is done, just want to make sure that for the PMO, all these calculations are accurate. But here we are. We have the 4 slides for today's report. Okay. Any questions?
Okay, I think sounds good. What is the cutoff time? Like, instead of 6 to 8, why can't we put it around 1 p.m., 1 to 2?
Because the BTLs or one of the CTS project managers, they may be evaluating the data, right? Because the BTLs, they may say, yeah, I've finished this today, right? Say, from the not started, I've moved them into in progress, right? And so we want to let them do their work so that they can show that they've made progress.
So we are trying to capture end of US time, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that means, in offshore India time also can hand out this report. Okay.
Yeah, and then so offshore, what they'll do is that whatever they find is flagged for not flagged, but whatever is ready for review. Then offshore will go in and then update the BPML to show that process variation is ready for review.
Once we are done with this report, whom we are sharing this? Are we sharing in the same hour time or any other time we have to share? What is the plan?
Well, this should go to Morley currently. So Morley will
So that means end of our time, our night time, once we have done the update, and we'll be sharing with Morley, right?
Yes.
After that, any changes done by the offshore, our testing team, which will be not included, right?
Unless there's a correction that needs to be made.
Correction means what again?
Like, for example, one thing that happened recently is The graph wasn't extended, so it didn't show the current day for the report, and so Siddharshan went in to create he went back